Welcome in and welcome back. We are here for this week's review of Wandavision. We will be reviewing Wandavision on a weekly basis here on the channel. Every week that we have an episode, we will have a review, much like we did with The Mandalorian and The Mandalorian Season 2. So, I got to be honest and upfront about this. Right now, I am still not 100% sure how I feel about this series. 3 episodes in, we've got 9 episodes, so we are now 33% of the way through what it is that we're going to get, and we still don't know exactly where we are. We had the big reveal this week that you can be expelled from Wanda's vision. We had the big reveal of the twins being born, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of story going on. There's a lot of mood setting. I'm fine with that. That's all fine and dandy. That's all great. We're 33% of the way through what we're going to get. Do you feel like you've gotten 33% of a story? Again, I don't mind a slow build. I don't mind a slow burn. I don't mind getting things bit by piece and that sort of thing. I don't mind the audience having to do work for themselves in order to get some semblance of an idea of what is going on. But I don't know. I just don't know. It's enjoyable, but I don't know if it's good. I think there is a dichotomy between those two words. So what do we get here? We had Wanda not just being pregnant, but becoming more pregnant as the episode goes on. We have Wanda giving birth, and that's pretty much the gist of the story. But what else happens? There are quite a few things that happen. I am 100% sold on the fact that Agnes, the neighbor witch lady Agnes, she keeps referring to Ralph. Ralph, and we don't meet Ralph. We've never met Ralph. But Agnes seems to have some type of autonomy in the show. If you remember the very first time she's introduced, when the mailman walks by, she checks him out as he goes. That's not written into the script of the show. I should have said spoilers, I suppose. I should have said spoilers. I'm going to have to remember to put that into the title of this so that I don't get in trouble for not saying spoilers. But we're going to talk about everything in this show on every review that we do. I'm not going to really hold anything back as far as spoilers are concerned. But Agnes has some type of autonomy within the show. She keeps speaking of her husband, Ralph, whom we do not meet. Now, take a step back a little bit. Agnes. What does Agnes mean? The name Agnes means pure or holy. I'm assuming, this is an ironic name, I'm assuming that Agnes is going to be the antagonist of the series, or more precisely, a demi-antagonist. I think that Agnes is as well a witch. I think that Agnes is going to be this Ralph that she keeps referring to. Ralph, what does Ralph mean? It means council wolf or famous wolf. Ralph is not a name that I believe has ever been linked to Mephisto, to the devil. But it seems that her husband, Ralph, that we have not met, is going to be the Mephisto character. I think. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what's going on. I think that this series is going to end up being better in hindsight than looking forward. I think that we're going to get to the end of this series and realize, because one of the things I'm struggling with so far, I don't really have a whole lot to talk about with these episodes. They're very fast, they're very quick, they move fast, they move quick. The story is not really all that much. There's not all that much story there. There's a lot of atmosphere being built. I think this series is going to be much better looking back than it is absorbing for the first time. I think that there's going to be a lot more told to us than we really understand. There was, I believe, a very small X-Men Easter egg. In the scene where Geraldine has come over and Wanda is trying to hide the fact that she is pregnant, she keeps manifesting coats, right? She goes into the kitchen and she manifests a fur coat and kind of likes it. She had manifested she brought Vision, I think it was Vision's jacket she brought over to herself and then made it into a trench coat. I think that's how that little scene went. But we also got a very long yellow slicker. Did that look familiar to anyone? I think that was Jubilee's coat. I think that is an X-Men Easter egg. Jubilee's coat was always one of those weird things from the comics. I think she's from the Jim Lee era of the comics where everything was blue and yellow, right? And her coat being yellow looked like a rain slicker. It always looked like a raincoat. But why would she be stylishly wearing a raincoat? Remember, Jubilee was the hip youngin' in the 90s. Early 90s at that. So why would she be wearing a raincoat? So when I was a kid, no one knew what Jubilee's coat was. Surely that's not a raincoat, but it's yellow. Is that a yellow leather coat? What is going on here? But there was, I think that is a nod to Jubilee in the comics. What Jubilee has to do with Wanda or any of the X-Men who are directly implicated by Magneto, Wanda's father, I don't know. But it's interesting to see that in there, at least. One other thing that we got a stork. Fine and dandy. Pregnancy. Having kids. A stork. Beautiful. But a stork is not all that a stork is. If I am not mistaken, a stork is a type of ibis, or an ibis is a type of stork, or the two are very closely related. I'm not 100% sure which one's which. I'm not a bird guy. I know it's out there. I thought that it was an ibis at first until it walked into the room and stood against the wall. Oh, right. Stork. It's a stork. Why did I think it was an ibis? What is ibis? In ibis, if you look at symbology, ibis goes way back to the days of Egypt. The god Thoth, which always makes me feel like I have a lisp asking for sauce. Thoth. Thoth was the god of writing, magic, wisdom. Writing, magic, wisdom, all of these things could be very important to, say, Mephisto, who, look at the fall of man. Eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Knowledge is evil. Writing, wisdom. Where do we draw the line there would be very important when dealing directly with a character like Mephisto. But what else was Ibis the god of? Ibis was the god of the moon. Is this a lead-in to Moon Knight? Hard to say, but it's also Egyptology, right? But another thing with that bird, first off, am I the only one that was super creeped out watching that thing walk around? Was that just me? That thing moved in super creepy fashion. I'm not sure if it was a real bird. I'm not sure if that was just computer-generated imaging. I'm not sure exactly what was going on there, but it was creepy. And whenever Wanda tried, poof, to make it go, poof, which she couldn't, poof, despite the fact that she controls everything in this reality, she couldn't make that damn stork go away. What was the color of the cloud that just poofed up around it? Red, like Mephisto. So I'm assuming that ibis is representative of Mephisto, will keep popping up, and she will not be able to control it because Mephisto is presumably every bit as powerful as is Wanda in this series. Wanda, who has manifested a reality of her own. Two more things to talk about. Geraldine, the Monica Rambeau character that we know is from the outside world. We see that it is possible to be physically expelled from the Matrix when Geraldine says, "Your brother, Ultron killed him, didn't he? What did you say?" Bum, bum, bum. Shut her out. There's a lot going on there. The Geraldine / Monica Rambeau character seems to not be completely in control of what it is that she does and does not know, as if simply by entering Wanda's reality, she had forgotten some part of her mission. She should not say anything about Wanda's brother being dead, should she? She should not know about Ultron in this little fake reality, should she? But she does. And we see that this is Scarlet Witch being in the real world, creating a reality pocket for herself. Not that she is in a pocket dimension, like I had maybe mentioned in, I think it was the second one of these that I did. But the big thing about that scene, the biggest part about that scene, is when Vision shows up and asks about her, asks about Geraldine. Wanda lies to him, and he is none the wiser. So, the Vision which is in this reality is not a part of Wanda. Perhaps it's a manifestation based on Wanda, right? Some projection. But he does not know everything that she knows, and vice versa. She did not seem privy to the conversation that Vision had with Agnes and Herb. She did not seem privy to that conversation because that conversation was already alluding to the fact that maybe this Geraldine character is not supposed to be here. So there are obviously outside forces at play in this episode. So if we have all of these hints in the previous two episodes that Wanda's controlling everything going on, we have several hints herein that no, she isn't. So we've got bigger questions at play. So we do have that large revelation. Now, I talked a little bit in the previous two episodes, I believe, of my reviews on this episode, on this series, about the idea of a hanging mystery. And a hanging mystery in storytelling, you can use a hanging mystery to sort of add a dimension to your story of fear, of paranoia, of an unsettled type of feeling. And that happens here. There are more hanging mysteries. For one, Herb and Agnes gossiping adds some mystery because we never really get everything that they're gossiping about. We get a little bit. We get a taste of one thing about which they're gossiping, and they're not entirely sure that Vision needs to be privy to this information, but he is. And the other bit of hanging mystery that we get here is a hanging mystery from that conversation and about Geraldine. They say, well, Geraldine, she's here to... And they never get around to saying it. So that's a hanging mystery. The other hanging mystery is that Schlupp character. The Schlupp character with the mustache. And in this episode, he's got the long hair. How did he score the super hot blonde? That's a hanging mystery too. That's all I've got for this episode. I hope to see you back next week because we'll have another review about WandaVision and whatever the episode is next week. We're assuming we're moving into the 80s. I'm not all that familiar with television from the 80s on a sitcom basis. So we'll see how that goes.